We are working on activity 3.1, using density to make predictions. This is on page 23 in your paper packet. Yesterday we completed part 1. We were looking at how solids float and sink in water. Today we're going to be looking at part 3 through 8, and we're going to look at how liquids float in other liquids. So in order to complete the first part, we're looking at number 3 on page 23, and the instructions say to fill in table 2, where we're calculating the density of 3 liquids: vegetable oil, corn syrup, and water. The first column asks you to record the volume of these 3 liquids. So I'm going to show you the volume of each cylinder. I'll tell you what the liquid's name is, and you can record that in the table on page 23. So our first liquid is vegetable oil. You can pause if you need to read the cylinder. The second liquid is corn syrup, and if you can't quite see it, it's falling right at this dark line here. And our last liquid is water. I've dyed it red so that it's a little bit easier to see. Alright, I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit because next we're going to measure the mass of these substances. I'm going to adjust this. Adjust this so that you can see that mass. Okay, so again, our first liquid is the vegetable oil. Here's the mass of the vegetable oil and the cylinder. In order to find the mass of the vegetable oil only, you'll need to subtract the mass of the cylinder from the mass of the liquid plus the cylinder. And here is the mass of the cylinder only. I'll leave it right here on this sticky note so that you have it. The mass of the cylinder only for all of these cylinders is 19.3 grams. Alright, next we have the corn syrup. Here's the mass of the corn syrup and the cylinder that you can see on the balance, and you can subtract the mass of the cylinder only. And here's the mass of the water only. I'm sorry, the mass of the water plus the cylinder. You'll need to find the mass of the water only. Alright, pause the video and calculate the density for each of these liquids. Alright, to check in on the density of vegetable oil should be close to 0.8 or 0.9. The density of corn syrup should be close to 1.3, and the density of water should be close to 1.0. Turn the page. And on page 24, we're going to answer question 4. What do you predict will happen when you mix the vegetable oil, corn syrup, and water? Explain your prediction. You're going to do this in words, and this is mixing without stirring. Next, you're going to fill in question 5. Fill in and label the prediction cylinder. So I'd like you to draw some lines to represent the 3 liquids and label which liquid you think will be at the bottom of the cylinder, the top, and the middle. Pause the video to do this, and when you come back, we will test your prediction. All right, testing this prediction. So I'm going to start with the corn syrup because that does not pour very easily. And I think what I'll do next is I'll pour the oil into this. And then I'll pour the water in. So as I look at the cylinder, I see corn syrup, and then water, and then oil. Record your observations in the observation cylinder. Press pause if you need time to do this. So what we're looking at here is actually liquids floating on other liquids. We see that the water is floating on the corn syrup, and the oil is floating on the water. Liquids float all over the world in a lot of different situations. Next, we're going to test two solids and how they behave with these liquids. We're going to test a copper rod whose density is 8.9 grams per centimeter cubed, and a nylon spacer whose density is 1.15 grams per centimeter cubed. So I'd like you to make some predictions about the copper and the nylon. It's a little bright. So copper has a density of 8.9 and the nylon has a density of 1.15. In your prediction cylinder, make a prediction as to where the copper will float in this cylinder or not float, and where the nylon will float or not float in this cylinder. Will it sink all the way to the bottom? Will it float between the corn syrup and the water? Or will it float between the oil and the water? Or will it float on top of the oil? Press pause while you complete your prediction cylinder for this stage. Alright, now it's time to observe. So I'm going to try the copper first. Like it sinks all the way to the bottom. And now I'll try the nylon. And the nylon stops and floats where the corn syrup begins. So go ahead and record these observations in your observation cylinder and then complete questions 7 and 8 on this same page.